welcome you. So Moky, maybe we could start off with you.
I also, you said South African. I'm Nigerian, so I just need to point that out.
But you're proudly South African. You've been here since
Proudly
1998.
South African, yeah.
Maybe we could start off talking a little bit about that. Obviously, having grown up in Nigeria, and then, which is quite an entrepreneurial country, studied in England and then come to South Africa. What's it been like as a foreigner and as a woman making your mark in the world of business in South Africa?
Thank you for your introduction. For me, I think being Nigerian here has actually helped me tremendously. I think a lot of people would probably find, in some cases, that it could have been a negative, because I think Nigerians don't always have the best reputation in this market. But for me, it certainly worked for me. A lot of the things that I've done have been because I'm Nigerian. And also being Nigerian has made me extremely entrepreneurial. I think the country's just born that way. I mean, I was there last week, and you know, everybody is so entrepreneurial because there is no support system. You've got to make it on your own. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs that start off, you know, survivalist entrepreneurs that start off like that. So I think for me, it's been good being Nigerian. But coming to South Africa, it's been difficult. It's been hard. But I think that's part of the challenge for an entrepreneur. You don't just turn away and go because somewhere's tough. I do think there's certain things that I've seen because I've got different experiences. And South Africa's a great place because it's got enough of Africa in it, but enough of the sort of first world infrastructure to make things happen. So yeah, for me, it's been great. And I just think because I can't compete with South Africa because there's affirmative action, there's BEE, which don't allow a black African to participate quite as much, it's meant that I've had to be extremely creative in the projects that I've wanted to do, and I found a niche in Africa. So everything I do is sort of Pan-African, because South African companies are interested in going into the rest of the continent. So that's been an opportunity for me in the various businesses that I've been involved with.
Great. And maybe, Moky, also, just on that note, you've been involved in different projects and in almost sort of many businesses throughout your career. And now you're embarking on putting it, we chatted earlier about putting it under one umbrella and almost building your own brand and your own company. What have been the challenges in embarking on that adventure?
It's not so much challenges. I've just found that, you know, I didn't want to work for corporate. I didn't want to work for anybody. And I think entrepreneurs generally are quite, sort of, what's the phrase? You've got short attention spans, so you move from one thing to another. And I think there's probably examples of how people have done that. But what I've done now, what I'm doing now, is trying to consolidate all my media projects into one thing. So there is a brand, rather than, oh, Moky the lady who sort of did a series, the lady who, you know, wrote a book, and, you know, all these different things. So yeah, I've created a little Oprah-esque empire. Yeah, and so watch this space. So I mean, I think I'm very privileged to be on this panel because I think I'm in the very beginning stages. But what I will say is that writing my book and going around the continent and interviewing these men made me realize there's absolutely nothing stopping me from building my massive empire. Good.
Ross, life insurance to people with HIV and AIDS, what led you to that opportunity? How did you see it as a gap, and how did you pursue it?
Well, it's much more interesting to chase opportunities where nobody else is operating. So kind of a space where you don't have to go up against all the big organizations or the big entities. And no insult to anybody in life insurance, but it's not considered the most entrepreneurial space, which means that you're up against your entrepreneurial people. You're up against some very clever people, but generally focused in traditional areas. You know, when we came up with the idea, it all seemed pretty straightforward. We couldn't understand why other people weren't doing it. And then after struggling to build an admin infrastructure for 2 years, we understood why nobody else was doing it. Yeah. But you know, now we're there. We're pretty much the only people in the world who offer this kind of life insurance. We get applications from everywhere, from, you know, the US, from Europe, from the East. If you're HIV positive, pretty much our name pops up on Google, and we're friendly with all the other life insurance companies. So we're non-competitive. everybody refers business to us. We're in an environment that actually currently is a pleasure and a joy to operate in, which is very difficult to enter, though. So there are significant barriers to entry. And yet we're friendly. We've managed to deal with our competitors our potential competitors in a very friendly way.
Now, traditional life insurance businesses, I picture them as being quite hierarchical, big buildings, lots of reporting structures. Is your business like that, or is it very much an entrepreneurial type of business in terms of internally?
Well, when we kicked it off, we decided to only spend money on what was important. So we had no offices. We had business cards. The business cards were important because you couldn't be taken seriously without business cards. So still very flat structure. We have now about 40 people in the business. If you spoke to me last month, we had 35 people. The month before that, we had 30. So we're very rapidly growing business. The struggle's been more to let go, to let other people do stuff in maybe a way you wouldn't necessarily do it, but you couldn't get to it anyway. So let it go, let somebody else do it, and accept that the results maybe will be almost as good as if you'd done it yourself. So that's kind of where we are. We have a very flat structure. We are introducing kind of middle management in between us and everybody. And we're dealing with the strains of growth, which is a pleasure to deal with.